Back on Radio Row, Road to Super Bowl 59 with talkSPORT, our dedicated NFL YouTube channel. I can't even, I'm going to have to restart that. Last night's really hit me, Tom. This really hit me hard all of a sudden. I'm going to blame opening night rather than the beers we went for after opening night. That's what I'm going to do.
That's always a good plan.
Yeah. Back on Radio Row, talkSPORT's dedicated NFL YouTube channel, Endzone, and building up to the big game this weekend, live and exclusive in-stadium coverage on talkSPORT for UK radio. I'm delighted to say that joining us now, NFL Network Insider Tom Pelissero is with us. Tom, how are you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic, rolling through the week, lots of energy to be making my way around Radio Row here.
I'm kind of slightly stunned by the level of energy, but I guess the job that you do must require you to be kind of, I sometimes see you tweeting at what would be, I guess, like 4 or 5 a.m. your time, middle of the night for us. And so I guess like lots of energy is a huge part of your job, right?
That's partly too, being a dad and like trying to be up in time to like help my kids get to the bus stop when I'm home. And so in order to do that and to work out before, I got to start pretty early. And so sometimes it's like, all right, I got to get these 2 tweets out in the morning. 5 a.m., that seems like a good time.
How old are the kids?
10 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So and they need their girls, and they need a little bit of a little motivation sometimes in the morning. It's ebbs and flows. But when I can get out there, as long as it's not 20 below, in which case I just drive them down there. Yeah, like being a dad, walk down to the bus stop.
That's a beautiful thing to think about. I have become a dad just this year. Twin girls.
Congratulations.
So,
ooh, twins.
Yeah, that's the great reaction that you get from parents. But, I might have to pick your brain about being a girl dad at some point. But we should probably talk about NFL things right now more than anything else. I saw you opening night last night, caught you very briefly. But, for you, when you've got those big events like that and you're still trying to juggle Myles Garrett looking to get traded, Cooper Kupp being forced into a trade by the Rams, supposedly, and your phone is still blowing up with that stuff, how do you juggle those things on Super Bowl week?
Well, yeah, it's Super Bowl week. The hard part is just because there's a million things going on and you're trying to see people and get around, and then there's other stories happening. That's just kind of the nature of it. This is the time of year. And part of it is strategic, obviously, is you put things out there before guys come up on Radio Row, because otherwise they're awkwardly not saying things they know or holding things back. And where do you say it? Getting it out there ahead of Super Bowl week a lot of times, because if all the players are around here doing appearances, it can help them to kind of get that out of the way and then be able to have an honest conversation as opposed to dancing around, when Cooper Kupp's getting asked about the future of the Rams or whatever and having to give a half-hearted answer. So yeah, it's just the nature of it. And really over the NFL's become so much more active in terms of the trade piece in recent years. I'd say over the last 10 years, there's simply far more. Part of that is driven by social media and the fact that everything is public, and you've got 10 times as many reporters who are putting out every single nugget, right or wrong, that they possibly come across. And it just leads to, it feels like we're always at a 10. The Super Bowl will end, and it will still feel like there is no lull whatsoever, and that'll really go certainly through, the first week of free agency, which is in mid-March, and then in certain cases all the way to the draft and potentially beyond.
The story I always tell, to your exact point there, is we're in Minnesota for 52, and we had Alex Smith scheduled to join us on the Wednesday afternoon. I think it was around 1:15, and about 12:30 we get the email, we're really sorry, we're going to have to cancel Alex's appearance. It's like, pretty gutted, big name, we were excited about having him on, and then the Radio Row that year was in the middle of the food court.
That's right.
Wild positioning. And we saw him sat in Shake Shack on the phone for about an hour. And we're going, what on earth is going on? And then around 4 p.m., obviously, you guys on the Insiders start tweeting, he's on his way to Washington, big trade happening, Pat Mahomes is the starter. And so you're seeing that all in action and thinking Alex must have had some idea that was going to happen, and having to go and do these media appearances. It's got to be wild if you're on that side of things.
There's no question. And players probably have more power than they've ever had in terms of shaping the conversation and instant ways to put out their own messaging on things like that. But you're still, to a certain extent at the mercy of when does a team decide to act. Myles Garrett being a perfect example. He can say, I do not want to return to Cleveland. I want to go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl. The Browns can go, we don't want to trade you, so we'll just sit and wait. And that just leads to potentially a standoff that could go on for days or weeks or months. Obviously, something's got to give. I don't anticipate Myles Garrett at age 29 retiring before he plays another down for the Browns. But either way, he's got 2 years and $45 million left on his contract. There's no way he's playing for that. The Browns stand ready to do a new deal with him, and a new team would have to do a new deal with him. It's not about money with Myles Garrett. He's 29 years old. Feels like he's got a certain window to go win a Super Bowl. Doesn't think that that's going to happen in Cleveland in 2025, and so he's saying, I don't want to be here. And the Browns are, still proceeding as if they're going to work this thing out, and we'll see where it goes.
I'm intrigued for a guy who's in the information business, how much those things have affected you. Like, the fact that players just have this instant access to everybody immediately and don't need to go through those kind of old school information channels, but also how much more are you maybe dealing with players than agents, or how much more are you maybe having those direct contact things going on?
The hard part, I think, for me is just you don't know in what number of formats something is going to become news. I mean, there are guys who, they'll say something when they're streaming their video games, and it becomes, and someone's like, he said it on Twitch. I'm like, what's Twitch? And then you have to,
Micah Parsons has said it on his live stream.
And then sometimes people just make stuff up and say that it happened, and then these aggregator accounts take the fake quote and put it out, and you're like, wait, hang on. And I have those discussions all the time when they're like, this quote's out there, we're going to talk about this quote on TV. I'm like, hold on. Have we seen him say it? Where did it come from? What was the original version of it? Because the last thing I want to do then is worsen the echo chamber by going on TV and going, well, he said this. And then it's like, no, that was part of a 800-word answer that was then manipulated and changed over and over. That stuff is tricky. I mean, you're not held to the 3 days in the locker room and the post-game press conference and the Monday press conference for the coach. It can be any time, and you can have things that may or may not mean anything. Brandon Ayuk last summer was a perfect example of it, where Ayuk, knowing the power that he has, he would go on and just post something because he felt like it. He posted one time him driving the car up to the gate of the facility and cursing up a storm about you guys better let me in and all this stuff. And I'm like, what is this? And the answer was, it's nothing. He was coming in to get a workout in, but he wanted to make it a thing. And for 6 months last year, it became a real thing, but it was not real when Ayuk started it. He turned it into this massive fight, and there was a very real possibility. There were serious talks. There was at least one deal that was in place. And it didn't end up happening because the 49ers ultimately decided, and Ayuk decided, that they could proceed together. How does this play out with Myles Garrett? Does he decide to start just once a week putting something out on social media? That's not really his personality. Does he decide to kind of go back to doing it in the shadows, which is how they were working on it the past month? Did they decide to be very public? They went public yesterday after Andrew Berry had said last week in Mobile, we're not trading him. And there was a little tweak in that statement that Myles Garrett made at Andrew Berry's own words. So, yeah, this definitely changes how you follow it, but that's also why I spent 20 minutes this morning going through all the high-profile potential free agents and trade guys and turning on the alerts on every social media forum that I know that they have.
This is exactly what I was going to ask, right? Because this is the speed at which you're on it. And I mean, I'm the opposite, whereas I have alerts on for you and Adam and Ian and everyone else, because I need to know that for us reacting, whether it's on air or on a podcast or whatever it is, I'm up to date with the latest thing. So I have you guys to rely on. How do you make sure that you're the first to see that Myles Garrett has put that out there, or whoever it might be?
Well, and part of it, too, is, if somebody puts out the statement, being the first one to, repost it 5 seconds later, that's not as big a deal. It's more so if there's something cryptic that they post and everyone's just like, oh, that's nothing, but you're the one smart enough to go, I better make a call on that. And I won't get into some of the examples, but there have definitely been ones in the past where someone will post, last year there was one where someone posted a rocket ship emoji. And I was like, what is that? And then 15 minutes later, their team had made a trade. I was like, yeah, that was the signal. And it was a trade that I knew was coming. I didn't know when it was coming. And for whatever reason, the synapses in my brain weren't connecting that day. Yeah, I mean, I have...
And then you get guys like Tyreek Hill who seem to be doing it as almost trolling.
Tyreek does.
It's time to go, coach. From this
time to
year
go, coach, yeah. He does stuff all the time. There's other people, quite honestly, I've turned off alerts for 2 or 3 guys who are posting every single thing that they're doing. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you in March. I can't do this for the next several months here. But there's other ones who are the people who don't post. Those are the best ones to turn on alerts for, because then if something comes up, you're like, oh, this must be something real.
Love that. Look, talk to us a bit about what your week looks like this week, the stuff you're doing with the Insiders, which is great. I'm really enjoying that. And
appreciate it.
Is it fun for you doing the hosting side of things and actually getting to bring that together and show that world a little bit as well?
Definitely. And, working with Ian and Mike and Judy, it's a tremendous amount of fun. The best nights are when it turns into chaos. And I know that that's much more pain for our producers, who then have to create every graphic on the fly and rearrange the show. But when we're in the break after the A block, and we've got Mark Donovan, the Chiefs president, coming up on the TV last night, we're in the Superdome. there's a smoke machine, which we eventually had to turn off because it was just blowing smoke in my face, but like strobe lights and pulsing music. And we're in break, and I see Cooper Kupp post that the Rams are going to trade him. And so then I'm like, guys, we're going to have to do this right here. And so, Jeff Collette and McEnroe Francis and those guys back in the studio or back in Inglewood were great. And they're like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And then Mark Donovan sits down and I go, hey, Mark, Cooper Kupp just asked to be, or just said he's going to be traded. I won't ask you about it, unless you want, because you're probably going to get him. But anyway, just sit tight. We're going to do a minute on this, and then we're going to get to you. And Mark was great and sad, but it's just, you never know when those things are going to happen. Those are the best moments on TV. And I would always say, the insiders, the fact that, it's all of us, we're the ones running the show, it's a ton of fun because when those big things happen, I think that we are uniquely equipped. Nobody's better. There's not a single second of lost air. Like everything, we are putting it together. It's great conversation. And then, through the course of this week, we have Super Bowl Live going too. So we're on every afternoon leading up to the insiders, bringing news once an hour. And then I was just told on another interview, 8.5-hour pregame show on Sunday. No one had told me how long. 8.5 hours.
Are you on for the full 8.5?
We are on for the full 8.5. Not every second, but throughout. I think once an hour we'll have, a self-contained segment. We're going to be on the roof of the parking garage.
Oh, yeah.
Next to the Superdome in the middle of one of the parties. That's where our set is going to be. So I am fully prepared for Mardi Gras on live TV, and we're going to have some fun.
There's going to be just unpredictable. I think that broadcast is going to be, but it sounds like a lot of fun. Look, I probably should have asked you where you think Myles Garrett's going to go and stuff, but I know that you guys are getting that stuff out there.
I told you, the Browns are saying you're staying. Myles is saying I'm not, and this is going to take a little bit.
But I'm far more interested in finding out the nuts and bolts of what you do, so I hope you found that interesting as well.
No, I appreciate it.
So thank you so much for joining us, and have a fun week, man.
I appreciate it. You too.